how do I attract this PML? That's the magic question. What do I need to do? What do I need to say? How do they think? What are they looking for? What's important to them? And how do I educate them?
The Real Estate Funding Kit is out now. Learn how to get 100% funding for all your deals without dealing with the banks. Claim your free copy at myfundingkit.com.
When we think about it, like, what is somebody's concern? If they don't know really anything about investing or real estate, getting paid back is priority number one. And then what's priority number two? Yeah. So the mistake that I used to make and most people make when they're doing PML is they talk about this before this. So, oh man, I can get you 12% on your money and that sounds great. They're like, yeah, but 12% of zero is still zero if I don't get it back. And they may not say that, they may not verbalize that, but that's what's going through their head is they're like, okay, how do I get paid back? I'm about to give somebody 40 grand. What if I never see that money again? That doesn't make me feel good. So then what I focus on primarily is the benefits like security. And really when it comes down to a PML, is there are two major factors to consider. The deal and then the operator. How do I underwrite the deal? What does that look like? So we're going to talk about equity in a second. And how do I underwrite the operator, or how do I feel comfortable with the operator? And what I found is with hard money, which one of these two do they care about most? It's asset-based lending. So they're very focused on the property and the loan to value, which is why they're hard money and it's not traditional lending. Traditional lending cares about what? The deal and the borrower. Hard money doesn't care about the borrower, they only care about the deal. If you default, they're happy to take that away from you. The weight scale for hard money is 80-20 of like priority level. And private money, I'd say it's the other way, 20-80. Yeah, Jerry, I get it. It's a good deal. I'm lending it because I know you. I like you. I trust you. And I have PMLs that don't even underwrite. They don't even care. They're just like, it's Jerry. I really like him. I'm just going to give him my money because I trust him over the flipper that just started flipping houses last month. And what are things I say? Can you imagine? Been doing this for 20 years. I've done hundreds of deals. I could show you this one and this one and this one. I kind of really lean heavy on that one. If you don't have a lot of experience, that makes it a little tougher. So then maybe you do put a little bit more effort into the deal. So I'll tell you a story. My very first PML, this was, almost 20 years ago. I was doing a lot of wholesaling. I wanted to get into flipping. And at church, where I went to church in Michigan, there was a guy there that I thought was the baller, like he drove a nice car. So what I did is I walked around in the church parking lot and I looked at who had nice cars. And I assumed they have money because they have a nice car. I've since learned that has nothing to do with it. But at the time I thought that was a big deal. And I knew where he lived. He lived in a really nice house. And he was like a executive guy at a company. I went with him and I said, hey, I've been doing this real estate thing for a while. And I'd love to talk to you about if you have any interest in putting some money into deals. Is that something you'd be open to talk about? And he's like, yeah, I'll talk to you about that. Why don't you come over for dinner and we'll talk about it? So I go to his house for dinner. And when I went prepared. So I had a deal that needed funding. And I came with printouts of comps. I had a breakdown of all the repairs. I wanted to really look like I knew what I was doing. So I come there and I do the whole pitch. Like, here's the deal. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be all in for 100. I'm going to sell for 150. Here's all that. And he's just listening. He's quiet, shaking his head. And he says to me, Jerry, what could go wrong? And guess what I said? Nothing. Nothing could go wrong. This is the best deal ever. Nothing could go wrong. And he puts his arm around me and he says, let me teach you something about raising money. Something could always go wrong. And as soon as I know all the things that could go wrong, and I could feel comfortable with that, that's when I'll lend you money. But until I know that, I'm not going to lend you any money. It was a huge lesson for me. And he ended up being like a real mentor for me. He was a really cool guy. Lots of things could go wrong. There's one thought out there that is like, if I bring up unnecessary objections, I create objections that might not have been created. So why would I create an objection? I don't know that that's totally a good way to look at it. I would rather say, hey, here's all the things that could go wrong. Here's what I'm doing about it to make sure those things don't happen. And you need to be aware of these are possibilities. And if I can help you still feel comfortable, let's keep going with this conversation and maybe we can do something. Like, that's the approach I like to take. It's sort of like that full transparency, kind of like what you guys did with me on the call today. Hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go find a buyer. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, we'll let you know. We're not hiding anything. We're going to just put it all out there for you. So I found that with money people, they would rather you tell them the good, the bad, the ugly, and they understand that, because now if they're okay with that, then we can actually get somewhere. Otherwise, you're just never going to get anywhere. So like this morning when I was doing the animals, Brian comes up and he's checking in with me. We're talking about what he's working on today and stuff. I did like a soft thing and I said, hey, you know, the other day you mentioned that you had some money to work with. And so I started that conversation and I could see in his face, he's like, I've never done this before. This sounds kind of scary. You know, I've worked hard to earn this money. You know, I could see it. I've talked to people like that so many times. I could just see the worry and the fear and the scare going on in his eyes. And I just know, like, I got to help this guy feel comfortable with the deal, whatever deal I bring to him, and me as the operator. And if I can help him overcome those fears, then he'll lend me his money and we'll do deals. So what are some thoughts? What are some ideas around that? What qualifies as a quote unquote good deal? What defines a good deal? Equity. When we talk about it's got to be a good deal, what we're really talking about is equity. Equity is what protects a lender. They want to know that if crap hits the fan, how am I protected? And the way we sell deals is you are protected because I'm buying a deeply discounted property. There's a lot of equity in this property. Worst case scenario, you can fire sell this deal and get your money back. Like that's the conversation, isn't it? What are all the things about the actual project or deal that matter? What are the talking points, let's say? So we have equity. That's their protection against default. What other things about the deal and even real estate would make this safe for somebody to do? The exit. So like what are we doing to get that a clear exit? So let's put this down, clear exit. People want to know, how am I getting paid back? What's your exit to get the project done and my money back? So when I talk to PMLs, every deal I talk about, I want to make sure they're really clear on the exit. This is how we're getting out of this deal. This is how long we anticipate being in this deal. It's a fix and flip. We're going to buy this property. We're going to put $40,000 into repairs. That's going to take us 3 or 4 months. Then we're going to put it back up on the market. Worst case, that takes us another 3 or 4 months. You know, we're hoping we can move this deal in 4 or 5 months, might turn into 8 or 9 months. Hey, why don't we do a 12-month loan just in case? But you're giving them the details. You're helping them understand loan to value. What do we call this? We call this loan to value. What is your loan that you're giving me? How does that compare to the value of the property today? What else might matter with the deal itself? Like what would be something you'd want to know if you were putting money in on a deal? They have to understand how lien position works. I mean, this right here is what makes real estate better than any other vehicle out there. So how do we explain this? Let's say we're talking about a $100,000 loan. We're talking about a deal. We're going to say to them, one of the reasons why there is safety for you in this project that you're going to do is because we're going to create a lien on the property in the amount of your investment with me. What that means is it means you're backed now by security and collateral. Property is now collateral for your loan with me. Now, most people get this because they have a loan on their own house. You know, when you start to explain it, they understand what that means. Now we're gonna have to talk about position because it might be first or it might be a second position, and they need to understand where they fit in the equation. I'll show how I do this in a second. But we need to tell people, you know, one of the greatest things about real estate is that it's backed by the real estate. So let me give you an example. This project that you're lending me $100,000 on, all in on the project, we're gonna be all in for $200,000 on this deal. But as it sits in its current condition, it's worth $300,000. So because it's worth $300,000 and we're max loaned on the project at $200,000, we have $100,000 in leeway or equity in the event something happens. The market corrects, I get hit by a bus, something bad happens, God forbid, but if something bad happens, we can fire sale the project and everybody get paid back. Okay, that's this equity conversation. Also, your $100,000 is backed in a lien position on the property. So we record your loan, the project is now security for your loan. If they are going into a second position, I'll say, let me change these numbers around. Let's say that it's 50, as their PML is 50. And let's say you got 150 with a first position. So you got 150 in a first and you want a second position. What I'll say to them is I'll say, look, we've already raised the majority of the money for this deal. we've got 150,000 to do the deal. That investor's in first position because they're coming in with 80% of it, 150,000. We're talking to you about the other 50,000. That'll get us all the money for the deal. Because you're coming in with the 50, you're going to sit in a second position in lien priority behind the first position lender. Now, what that means is I'm talking to them. Now, what that means is it means that if something were to happen and you had to liquidate this project, let's say that I got hit by a bus and you had to sell it right away to get your money back. You sell it on the open market, whatever it sells for, the first position lender gets paid first, they get their 150, and then you get paid next, which is your 50. So you want to make sure that there's enough money when this thing sells in the event of an issue to where you get paid back. So if I was borrowing 200 and it fire sales at 150, they wouldn't get paid back. The 150 would get paid back, they wouldn't. Lien position gets paid off in priority. So like on my build project in Puerto Rico, we have several lenders on that project. We have people in 7th position. But I've got $1 million of cash in the deal. Kate has $1 million of cash in the deal. And so we're only raising $3 million. It's worth $8 million done. So like your loan to value is like 20%. Like doesn't matter if you're in 7th position, there's so much equity that you're protected in the equity. Second position is only bad if the equity's low. If the equity's high, it doesn't matter. So that project's been my easiest project to raise money, because think about it. Let's say the total project's 3.5, right? I have $1 million and Kate has $1 million, so that's $2 million. We're raising 1.5. We need to raise a little bit more money to finish it. But what's 1.5 divided by, let's just say 7.5 as a more realistic number? So we're gonna borrow 1.5, that's lien position PML. They're in front of us, so my money's just equity in. Like they get paid back before I get paid back, don't they? So it's 1.5 divided by 7.5, 20%. So my investors, the guy in first or 7th, total, we're not over 20% of value. Is that safe investment? Why? What do hard money lenders try to stay at? 70. So if hard money, who knows what the heck they're doing because they're smart, who are the smartest people in the room? The lenders. Hard money lends at 70% of value. We're at 20% of value. So you're super protected, and the operators have $2 million in cash in the deal. So what chances are there that me and Kate are gonna be like, you know what, forget it. Let's go do something else. No, I will sell my 10th child. No, not Rosie, my 9th child, Lincoln. No, I'm just kidding. Poor Lincoln. I wanted to carry it as far as we could for a long time with our own cash and not bring PML in until the end. A couple benefits of that is when they see the project, they're seeing a fairly finished product. Like it's hard to say, hey, David, give me 400 grand on my project and we're gonna pour footings next week. And you're looking at a piece of dirt in Puerto Rico, but now we can be like, hey, here's our renditions. We've already got this thing up. We're cruising now. So we waited on purpose to not raise money till the end. You can walk through it right now. You can see the rooms. Yeah, we're right there. Yeah, so it's easier to raise the money then too. See it, touch it, feel it. You know what you're looking at now. This is a safe project because I can say to a PML, look, we're never borrowing more than 20% of value. I've got skin in the game. I've been doing this a long time. Like I'm hitting all the things. My goal is that it's such a good opportunity that they can't say no. Now, I use a lot of this like secondary money. I don't got any money into the deal. You're coming in second position. So in that situation, I typically will give those PMLs a lot more in interest than I would normally pay, but it's still insignificant to the deal. So let me ask you a question. What would you rather have? 50,000 for your second position money? Would you rather borrow money at 8%, 12 or 15? 8, right? Okay, let's do the math on each one. Let's see what the difference is. 50,000 times 8% divided by 12 times 4. $1,000? That one cost me $1,000. Now do the same thing with 12%. 2,000 for this one, 3,000. If I'm sitting down with a PML and I'm like, man, I don't want to overpay for my PML. I mean, I need to be at 8% for my PML. No way would I pay 10% or 12%. Like that's so expensive for PML. I'm not going to pay that. You're talking about $1,000 on your deal. Who cares? In the big scheme of your deal, it doesn't really matter. It's the access of capital is more important than the cost of capital. This is proof of it. Access to capital is more important than cost of capital. I like 8, I'll go up to 12. Usually 12 gets it done. You don't need to offer more than that. Someone's happy. Where are they getting 12%? Tell me somewhere you're getting 12% secured by real estate that has equity in it. Tell me where. Not crypto, not stock market, not anything. Not a hard asset that you can count on. So let me talk about like the process that I like to go through. So one of the questions I'll ask people, once I've kind of gone through and I explained, what I like to do is I like to say, okay, tell me how much money you have to work with and tell me what your goals are. Do you want to see the money sit and accumulate for a while? Or are you wanting to see that money come back to you fairly quickly? Like, what are you hoping to do? And everybody's got a little bit different. Some people are like Tyler, and he's like, I don't need the money for anything. Get it to work. I want it working around the clock all the time. I don't need it back for anything. Just keep it working. Keep it working for me. Keep it working for me. A lot of people, where they're still trying to create trust with you, they're going to say, I'd like to start with a smaller amount and I'd like it to be fairly quick. People will say to me, I think I'm comfortable doing like 100,000. Now I know in my head they got a lot more than that. So here's what I'll do to upsell them into more money. I'll say, okay, here's typically what we do with our private money lenders. Under 100,000, we typically pay our investors 8%. Between 100 to 300, we bump it to 10. And if it's over 300, we'll go to 12%. Now, why scale it like this? You know, hey, if I give you more money, I can get up to the 10. And I can't tell how many people they've said I have 100 and all of a sudden they're signing 300 with me. Because they're like, wait, I can go from 8 to 12 if I give you 300. So I use it as a way to get more money. And I explain it to them. I say, look, the more capital you give me on deals, the more I'll pay you because it makes everything better for me. I can do better deals, more deals. I have to raise less money. So I'm happy to pay you more for that. And I'll tell them this too. I'll say, I'm happy to pay you for referrals too. So if you refer your buddies, we'll make sure you're compensated. There's 2 ways we could do that. We could tell your buddy that it's 10% and I'm getting 8, you're getting 2. So you're making money every month on the spread. Or we'll just pay you a straight point per loan that they do. So we'll pay you 1 point. So if they give me $100,000, I'll pay you $1,000. If they lend that $100,000 again in 6 months, I'll pay you another $1,000. From now on, every time they lend me money, I'll pay you a point. Well, what I find, this really might sound weird, but I talk to a lot of tire kickers. I would say probably 1 out of 10 Zooms I do with someone that says, hey, I want to talk about PML, actually lend the money. I think it's scary for people to part with money. And so I have this assumption like everybody's got $1 million. And until they don't give it to me, I'm just going to assume they do. Never assume somebody doesn't have money. You'd be surprised at people who have money. I used to, judge based on status and things like that. It's got nothing to do with it. You'd be so surprised how many people have $100,000 that they'll lend to you, and it's the last person you would think would have $100,000.
Millionaire.
I mean, look at Tyler. He's got shorts on. He hasn't.
Ridiculous.
He's rolling in money.
It's crazy. Can't assume.
Okay, so let's go back through the process. So then what I'll say is okay, here's a project I think would be good for your situation. And I try to identify a deal that would fit. There's been a few times where I've reached out to like Jordan and these guys. I'm like, hey, I got a PML with 50 grand. You guys got anything that might fit for that? They want their money back in, 6 months or whatever. So then, I'm looking for a deal. I'm kind of reverse engineering it. Like, oh, you got 50 grand? Let me go find a deal for it. What can we take down instead of wholesale this month and use this 50 grand like that, right? So I try to get them a good experience with a quick payoff. If it's IRA money, a lot of people have to help self-direct. I've got some great contacts for this too. I can give you guys if you want, but I'll say, look, we work with this company. They're really good at self-directing. They'll work with you. They'll get that money moved over from wherever it's at into the self-directed. Once it's in the self-directed, now you're able to lend it to me on deals. Okay, so that takes a couple weeks usually. So we walk through that process. And then I say, okay, because it's in your IRA is the one lending the money. That means the money has to go back into the IRA, which means you can't touch it. And they're going to charge you fees to manage that money. So what we're going to do is we're going to accrue the interest that we agreed on. So that means it's building. And then we're going to pay your principal back at the end of the deal and all your accrued interest. So I walk them through that. And I usually give an example. I'll say, so for example, let's say that we pay off your deal in 6 months and it's 50 grand. I do the math and I say that means we're going to pay you 50 grand plus another $2,000 or whatever it is. That's going to go back into your IRA. And then I tell them, I say, look, when we get close to that payoff, we're going to be trying to identify another good deal that fits for you. So that way we can roll it from that deal to this deal, a new deal. Because your money's not working for you sitting in the IRA account. It's working for you in my deals. And so then we got a whole thing now where we're managing everybody's money. When's people's money's due? When am I paying off somebody? As soon as I'm ready to pay off somebody, what am I thinking? I don't want to give that money back to them. If I give it back to them, it's not helping me anymore or them. So now where can I put that money? Into another deal. Once I get a verbal commitment from somebody on like lending money, is what I do next is I say, okay, I'm gonna put together some loan docs for you to look over. And it's gonna be a mortgage or a deed of trust, depending on the state, one of those two documents, and a promissory note. I'm gonna put that together. It's gonna be real simple to follow. I'm gonna send that over for you to look at. We get back on another call. I walk them through those loan docs, make sure they're comfortable with things, see if they have any questions. Once they say, yeah, it looks great. Okay, now I get those executed. Here's the executed loan docs. Here's the wire instructions. You're on the clock once the wire comes in, and let's get your money working. So I kind of have to walk people, because everyone's like, okay, what next? So you got to walk them through like how this works. And seriously though, guys, like if you have capital to work with, come talk to me. Like honestly, Jordan, if you got 700 in your sitting there, we should get that money working somehow, somewhere. I've got some stuff for it. We could put it on the Puerto Rico project for a little while. We could keep it short term too, because I do have my tax credit coming. They told me that I should get that in like 4 to 6 weeks.